At the Grand Synagogue of Paris, the service has begun for a young boy's bar mitzvah. A Jewish rite of passage for countless generations. Inside, the community here can celebrate. But outside are the signs that France's Jewish population is under attack. Armed police are stationed outside the doors of synagogues up and down the country to ensure events like this can happen without bloodshed. Many in the Jewish community are questioning whether this country, one they've called home for centuries, is one they may have to leave. An hour and a half from Paris by train, I travelled to the medieval city of Rouen. The Jewish community here is small, around 200 people, but that didn't stop it becoming a target.
Hi, welcome.
Rabbi, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Coming. We have some stuff to leave for Hanukkah. This is the prayer of Hanukkah.
Prayer books, essentially. In an early morning attack, a man armed with a knife threw a petrol bomb into the local synagogue. His aim to kill people as they fled. He was shot dead by police. 4 months on, and this is still how the synagogue looks.
We know anti-Semitism everywhere and every time, but when it happened to us, we're not ready for this. The Jewish people are very scared in France. Every year we have 2 families leaving the community. I think it will be a big leaving from the community next year.
Even now, the smell of smoke permeates the air here. And although the attacker didn't kill anyone, in a way he succeeded, because this, the city's only synagogue, has been completely taken out of action, and the community here has been left living in fear. This attack is not a one-off. In the shadow of October 7th, France, which has the largest Jewish population in Europe, has seen a significant increase in anti-Semitism. One report found there were more attacks in the 3 months after October 7th than the previous 3 years combined. Now many French Jews are beginning to question their safety and their future. Claire and her husband Jeremy have started making plans to move their family from the suburbs of Paris to Israel, where they believe, despite the conflict, they will be safer.
We were making a list of what we need to do before leaving, like learning Hebrew. We want our kids to learn Hebrew. We need to, do all the paperwork, look at different cities to see where we're going to be living.
And they're far from alone. According to Israeli government data, nearly 40% of French Jews are considering moving. Jeremy had always seen himself as a French patriot.
You know, I love French culture. I don't really like the France I live in.
This change came after 2 incidents in quick succession. First, one of the nurseries Jeremy runs was targeted with a Star of David painted on the side. Then, their local mayor received written threats against their children's Jewish school.
It felt like we became a target 24/7, making sure we locked our doors twice. I have like a safety plan of if something happens in my house. Like, this is insane.
Israel has faced lots of international condemnation. Some are accusing it of genocide at the moment. Does that have any impact on how you feel about moving?
I don't care at all anymore. I think we need to think about us Jews and us as a family.
In a way, it's sort of a catch-22. Jewish communities outside Israel are often targeted in revenge for Israel's actions. That in turn leads to people from those communities wanting to move to Israel for safety against anti-Semitism. In Le Marais, Paris's old Jewish quarter, I met with academic Carol Mann, who took me to her favourite cafe.
Jews are being accused generally of being responsible for everything that's happening in Israel, which is a very difficult situation for Jews. And especially Jews who are against Netanyahu, of which there's a vast quantity, or people who question the whole politics in Gaza.
Is there a future for the Jewish community here?
Absolutely, because the Jewish community is very much part of the French community.
Under the right of return, people with Jewish ancestry can become citizens of Israel. The Israeli law is controversial because the same opportunities are not afforded to Palestinians. For some, the politics are irrelevant. Moving is a question of safety.
So this is your whole life in France packed up, really?
Yes.
Frank has recently moved to Israel. Up until now, he'd spent his entire life in France.
You know, when you live somewhere that you love about 54 years, it's never easy, you know? But I think the price to pay is not so expensive, you know? You know, to leave a country like France is today, you know what I mean?
I think there's lots of people who couldn't imagine possibly moving to Israel at this moment in time.
I still feel more insecurity there than in France.
I've come to Sarcelles, exactly the kind of place where you'd expect there to be problems as a result of the conflict in the Middle East. It has a large Sephardi Jewish population, made up of many whose grandparents were kicked out of Arab countries after Israel was established, and a large population of Muslims from those same countries, now living together in one small area. But the police have recorded no violence since October. I want to understand why, so I'm meeting local councillor Maimouna Kamara.
Nous, notre idée, c'est de faire vivre une ville fraternelle. On a plusieurs projets qui sont mis en place à Sarcelles, d'où l'idée est de, en fait, d'éveiller les consciences, de permettre à chacun et chacune d'aller vers l'autre, donc vers les communautés ou tout simplement les personnes qui ne leur ressemblent pas, etc. Si toutes les villes s'inspirent de ce modèle, je pense qu'on aurait une dégression des actes antisémites.
The polarisation of politics in France, with the rise of the far left and the far right, has added extra anxiety to the French Jewish community. Back at the Grand Synagogue of Paris, at the end of a busy day, I'm meeting Chief Rabbi Sebag. After the recent elections, he declared there was no future for the Jewish community in France. But now he's changed his mind.
Il aime le pays, mais profondément. Et j'ai compris qu'il y a un amour très profond à la France. De traverser cette période difficile, d'une montée d'antisémitisme, des changements de politique, etc. Mais il s'attache beaucoup à la France.
You say the Jewish community here loves France. Does France love the Jewish community?
I think, yes. They know la valeur de juifs en France. Si vous l'enlevez le juif de la France, c'est comme vous essayez d'effacer l'histoire de la France.
When leaving, there was one last thing he wanted to point out. Inscribed above the exit, the last thing congregants see before leaving, the phrase, "Love your neighbour as yourself." It's a message perhaps some have forgotten over the past year.